first things that we do. When your client is down on the table, number one is comfort. Check in, see how they're doing. How's your head position? Is that okay where your head is? Good. All right. And how about your feet? Do you need a bolster or anything? Now, we don't have bolsters right now, but we want to make sure that their feet are bolstered. If you don't put a bolster under, the feet get uncomfortable by being in this position. So put something so their legs are raised.
Well, where should you put the bolster?
It goes right underneath their ankles, underneath the sheet. Yeah, just lifts them up. And you want to make sure, because if you do have a bolster on your table, if it's too high or too low, that's uncomfortable as well. So make sure it's in the proper position. Okay, now if you have a table warmer on, you want to check the temperature, make sure they're not too hot or too cold. But step number one, check in for comfort. Okay. So then the next thing we do, so we're going to actually start the massage. Now when we start the massage, we're keeping in mind that we have two body positions. Position one is going to be facing the table like this. So your feet will be a little bit more than shoulder distance apart. Be nice and relaxed, face straight on the table. So that's less common than the other one. It's more of a lunge position. So I'm going to face the head of the table, outside leg, inside leg, or I can face the foot of the table, and I can switch my position very easily. All right? So this is the position I'm going to start myself in. Now before I even begin, she's comfortable. What about me? I got to spend an hour doing this too. How am I feeling? Yeah. Check my shoulders. Check my neck. Check my back. Check my breath. All right, I'm feeling good. Now I'm going to start. Now we start with basic stroking techniques, and that's over top of the sheets. It's very light, and as I do this, I'm doing a few things. Number one is I'm introducing touch, right? I'm getting her used to the fact that we're going to spend an hour doing this. But the other thing I'm doing is I'm palpating, right? I'm feeling where the areas of tension are. So even though I'm using very light pressure, already I've started to notice that there's a tight spot right here. Maybe I'll spend a bit more time, right? And as I move down into the low back, I feel another one here. But I'm using very light pressure. Now this can last anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes, or, honestly, it can even last less than a minute. You might just stand in this position, do some broad strokes like this, just introduce touch, and then move on. It's up to you, but I would say 3 minutes is quite a long time to practice your basic stroke. Not much longer. And you'll find it actually gets kind of uncomfortable on your hands working over the sheets. It feels strange. So, we've done our basic stroking techniques. We've introduced touch. We have an idea. We found some more hypertonic spots. So now I'm going to drape. So our very basic draping of the back. First off, I'll show you how to do it if your client is wearing pants or undergarments. So the first thing we do is we bring our fingers down until we feel the pant line, and then we tuck here, and we tuck until we get about here, just on the sides, okay? So we have it nice and tucked. Now, can you bring your arms out for me? Bring your arms forward, just like that. Now the reason we need her arms out is because the next thing we do is I'll tuck underneath the hip here. Go ahead and relax. I'll tuck underneath the hip here. Good. Now it's really tight, tucked underneath the hips. Now all I do is I grab the top of the sheet, I can pull down like that. Good. And if I need a little bit more, there we go. So that's nice and easy. It's nice and tight. It's created a strong barrier, and that's important. Everywhere in the body as we drape, a nice tight draping is essential. It makes them feel more secure. If we leave this all loose, right, and it's just kind of hanging out there, that's not professional, and it doesn't feel comfortable for your client. All right. So now we can bring your arms to the side again for me. Is sometimes you're going to have clients, and they're not wearing undergarments. It's fine. So you feel, okay, not wearing undergarments. So what we'll do first is we'll tuck underneath the hips, step number one. And we'll grab the sheets, we'll bring them down, and you'll notice that they stop about the same spot because we've tucked. And we can just do one little roll here, and it's the same thing. It's created the same barrier. That's the big reason we're doing this, to create a barrier. So I'm just going to tuck because we do have pants and undergarments. Now, here's an important note about draping. As I'm going about my massage, at no point do my hands ever go under the drapes. I can go up to them, but I never go under. If I need to go further down, I drape further down. So that's our barrier. Never go under them. Clear?
So,
Excellent. All right. So now we have Drape. You can put your arms wherever they're comfortable. Good. And one thing that I do often is I always check into comfort. Your shoulders feeling good, your head, how you doing? So now this is stroking techniques as well. I'm not getting into any of the Effleurage techniques yet. Still very gentle, no oil. The first technique that I'm going to show you is called skin rolling. Now skin rolling is done a little bit later on typically, but we can't do it once we apply oil. So we'll start with some very basic skin rolling. Okay, so skin rolling we can do along the spine and we can do along the erectors. I'm going to roll along the erectors. It's a little bit easier. I'm going to be working on my side, not the opposite side. We're going to start in the low back and work up. So basically, I'm using my thumbs, my middle finger, or my index finger and my middle finger. So what I'll do is I'll start with just one hand so you can see the technique, but it's always done with two. So I'll pinch just a little bit, very lightly, and then I'll very slowly work my way up. So you see one finger rolling.
cool.
Yeah, my back finger, that thumb, it's just dragging along. Yeah. Yeah, it's not doing anything. It's just hanging out, dragging. So that's what it looks like. But practically, we use two hands.
That looks relaxing.
Yeah, it's nice. Now, the interesting thing is some people love it, some people hate it.
Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah.
like it.
Really
You like it, you hate it, right? So we've done one stroke up here. I'm going to do another one, and we can see where I went because there's that red line, right? So I'm going to move just a little bit over, and I'm going to do the same thing. Just a little bit over, and I'll go all the way, okay? I'll move all the way up. I'll move right into those upper traps, and I'll just finish. Now, I'm only going to do two strokes because if I go out into the ribs here, it can be pretty uncomfortable for everybody. Right, so you just do skin rolling. And you can do it 1, 2, 3 times. I wouldn't do it more than 5 because it gets uncomfortable and it's not necessary. The work's been done. And you notice the tissue's starting to get red already. Good, we're starting to really warm up. All right. Let's now move into Effleurage. Remember, Effleurage is our most basic introductory technique, and we're going to use a bit of oil. Now, I've started the massage, which means I do my best to maintain contact. So you notice as I reach for the bottle, hand stayed on. I need a bit of oil, put my hand over, take a little bit of oil. Now that is probably too much. We start with very little, and then we add if necessary. It's much easier to add than it is to take away. Put my hands together, and then spread. So, Effleurage, you could consider it just applying oil or lotion. And if I need a little bit more, same thing, I just reach for the bottle, my hand in contact, try and get 1 or 2 drops. Just very, very low. Good. Good. Now, Effleurage is all about flow. So at this point in time, we're feeling for that tension. But I'm using the whole surface of my hand, both hands. I'm not using my fingers, I'm not focusing anywhere. It's very broad contact. As I get into these upper traps, I'm not squeezing. It's very gentle. Everything here is gentle. You'll also notice that I shift my body position. Sometimes I'm working like this, and then I'll shift into a horse stance, and I'll use these really broad strokes. And notice how I move. As I move down to the lower body, my shoulders are staying stacked. I shift my weight from one side to another. Now it's nice. Smooth, pretty relaxing. I'm working on both sides of the body. I'm not concerned about one side or another. But maybe it's too hard for me to reach over. So then what I can do is I can walk around the table. Now as I do so, I keep my hand on, walk around the table, and I can continue from this side. But as I move around, I'm always keeping contact with my client. Effleurage is nice and easy on my body. I'm not putting any pressure in. All of the force is still coming from here. But I am using my arms. You see I'm extending and flexing my arms because there's no pressure. It's nice and easy. Good. Now I've been going quite quick. So I'm going to slow it down a little bit because in my mind I'm thinking, all right, that's probably enough Effleurage. Let's start to move into the other techniques, which are petrissage techniques. I've could just start to slow it down a little bit. Change the tempo, change the rhythm. I'm not changing the pressures. And you'll also notice that I'm starting to shift my attention from both sides to just this one side. That's part of a smooth and a flowing treatment. Is instead of just going, okay, effleurage, stop, petrissage, it's like one technique gradually turns into another, very gradually. Now, practically speaking, this transition could take a couple minutes. During the demonstration happens quick, right? So now I'm starting to focus just on one side, just on these erectors on the right side. I'm going to shift now into petrissage. Within petrissage, we have all these different techniques, right? We've got kneading, we've got grasping. We're going to focus on just one, muscle stripping. That's it. That's all we're focusing on today. So muscle stripping requires you know the fiber direction. We've already talked a little bit today about the latissimus dorsi, which comes up like this, right? It fans out and kind of goes lateral. We talked about the upper traps. Yes, they're superficial muscles, but our goal, our aim is these erectors, which just go right up the back. Petrissage requires a little bit deeper pressure, okay? So as I apply that little bit of deeper pressure, I need to switch my body mechanics. You'll notice I was down here nice and low. I'm going to stand up a little higher. I want to get my weight over top for a little more because the pressure, as I deepen the pressure, needs to come from here. So I'm going to start to do a little bit of a deeper stroke now. As I start on the bottom part of the table, I'm going to shift my focus from the entire palm to just this hypothenar, or this ulnar surface of my hand. Not quite here, right along this surface. So this is the whole palm, and that's just a slight shift, just a very slight shift. And that slight shift is going to allow me to increase the sensation. I'm still not pushing any harder though. There's no more pressure coming from me. But by subtly shifting my contact surface, I change the intensity. You doing okay? Now that I'm on petrissage, I'm really thinking about following through my strokes. You see, I went all the way up into those traps and I can pull back. What I don't want to see is this. It's okay, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that, but it doesn't feel as good as following all the way through. Now once I follow through, as I come back, I lighten up the pressure. And stroke by stroke, little by little, I'm going to increase the pressure. Now, a lot of that oil's dried up, it's rather absorbed, so.
Do we only go upward?
Right. I'm going to show you how to go the other way in just a moment. Great question. Really good question, yeah. Okay. So, now I'll add a little bit more pressure. What I want you to notice is I increase the pressure. My wrist, my elbow, my shoulder are staying pretty stationary. My shoulder will move a little bit, but these two joints, they shouldn't move at all. You should be able to get it's called a goniometer, but check the angle, and it probably won't change more than a degree. So as I move up, I'm applying more pressure. I'm lifting up, I'm standing a little bit higher. I'm leaning a little bit more over. This hand is just here for support. It's not doing anything. Now I'm going to move from here to here, and all of that movement is coming from here. If I want more pressure, I lean in with here. If I want less pressure, back up. And I can move all the way up the back. That stays still. You can feel these muscles. That's a little bit tight, just stabilizing, but the pressure's coming from here. You're doing okay?
Yes.
Good. Add a little bit more pressure. Right. Now let's answer your question. What if I want to come top to bottom? Well, yes, we can stand at the top of the table. And we'll do the same thing. We'll be in this lunge position. I can do those same techniques. Bring down the table. Right? Like this. Noting my body mechanics. Everything's staying stacked. Go nice and slow. The deeper techniques, you want to go slow. You never want to do a deep technique too quickly. Now, as I get down here, you'll notice I've really extended my wrist. I don't want my hands to be going into the gluteal region unless I've asked permission. Or, I can twist my hand to the side and complete the stroke. So I can stand on one side. Now another thing at the head of the table, so I can stand right at the head of the table, make sure I'm quite far back, stand up nice and tall, lock my joints, and I can move down on both sides simultaneously. Now what's important about this technique is you should be able to make it all the way down with plenty of space between you and your client, right? Yes, you don't want to get too close. If you can't, you move down to as far as you're comfortable, and then you're just going to move to one side. So this technique should only really be done if you've got enough reach within your arms, because you don't want to get too close. So working on one side. All right, now, I'm not quite done. As I increase pressure here, so far, I've shifted the focus to be on that fender muscle. Maybe I want to go a little bit deeper. So I've got two ways to go deeper. One, I can push harder. That's fine. It's tiring. Two, I shift my contact surface. So now I'm going to focus right with that pisiform. I can lean in with that pisiform. I'm not using much pressure. I'm still locked. You doing okay?
Okay.
Too deep?
Yes.
Yes?
Too deep.
Yes. No.
No.
I
Okay,
think
good.
okay.
Okay. Good. But the sensation is much stronger.
She can go deeper.
Yeah. Oh, we will. Don't worry.
Just classmate very stressed.
Yeah. So as I extend that wrist, you see I'm working more and more with that precise area. But there's a point in which you can't go. Maybe it's too hard on your body, but more importantly, is you want that wrist to be pretty neutral. I never want you to have that wrist like this. That's going to hurt your wrist. So you always want to make sure it's in a pretty neutral position. And if you maxed out the amount of pressure you could do like this, no problem. Because now we're going to shift into using our elbows. Elbows are a very important tool, but they can be misused in many ways. You can hurt yourself and you can hurt your client. So here's how we're going to do it. I've got one more spot of oil.
If the client say I want to more strong, can I use two hands?
Yeah, for sure. So long as you don't hurt yourself, go for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
For one side, use two hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I've got a little bit of oil. I'm just going to rub it on my elbow here. Because I'm going to need my elbows. Let's get a bit of oil. All right, so we'll start nice and easy. When I use my elbows, at lunge position, facing the head of the table, I'll rest my entire arm down. The entirety of my forearm is down. Notice the palm of my hand is also face down. If I bring my palm like this, I'm resting on the ulna, the crest of the ulna. That's more pressure. We're going to start soft, resting on my flexors. Starting there. So with that, that's a very broad contact surface. That's not deep. Very broad. As I move up, I want to move up again with my body. Now this is even more important than when you're using your hands. When you lean down, I really want you to keep that shoulder as stable as possible. I want the whole movement to come from your body, not from your shoulder. The other thing that's super important is once my elbow is down, look how my arm is in line with the spine. Never bring it out like this, because as soon as you do that, you lose stability. Now as I bring my arm up, I'm starting to really contract. I can feel the muscles of my shoulder contracting to maintain stability. But if I do this, it's stacked, it's locked. That shoulder is totally relaxed. So really focus that your shoulder, or your arm rather, is in line with the spine. Now if I've reached as far as I can reach, no problem. I just take a little step forward and keep moving. No big deal. And I'm still using the entirety of my forearm. I'm not using much pressure here.
But did you lean forward? Lean?
No, not yet. No pressure.
Oh, no.
Because I want you to start the same way. I want you to start nice and easy. Just get used to it, right? And what you'll notice is I'm going to go all the way into the traps, and I'm going to drop that elbow almost to the point where it touches the table. And then put this hand here and gently come back. Lighten up. There's almost no pressure. Almost none at all as I move back. I don't want you to pull back and hurt your shoulder. The pressure is forward. Now, let's say I want to add more pressure. Here's what I'll do. I'm going to just go in the middle, just to show you the technique. If I want to increase the pressure, I don't lean in. All I do is bend my elbow. Barely. A couple degrees. So from here to here. Yeah? Okay, more pressure?
Yes.
Yeah.
About pressure is okay.
Yeah.
Very people.
Yeah. So I don't have to push harder. I just change my contact surface. So if she wants more pressure, that's fine. I just bend. And if she says more pressure still, I can now contract my core. I can lean in more with my core. But if we get to the point where you've leaned in with your core and you're using your elbow and they want more pressure, you're maxed out. That's it. Sure, you could really force it in and use your muscles, and there's no need, you're gonna hurt yourself. So just keep that in mind. And as you go, use your elbow, use your core. Now once you start using your elbow, you've got too much oil, you slip all over the place, right? So here's what you can do. Use this hand to stabilize. And as I move up, this hand controls where my elbow goes. You okay? Not too much pressure?
Okay, not too much.
Good.
She can handle it.
Yeah. Excellent.
They're all in.
Follow through and then move back. I could do the same thing in the other direction, right? Drop that elbow down. If I want more pressure, I bend that elbow a little bit. I'm doing the same thing. I'm stabilizing here. You're okay? Okay, she whispers. I shift my body because I really want to make sure the force is coming from my core. I do not want this. I don't want you to move like that.
This way, you put his hand here.
Yeah, I can do both.
Oh, okay.
I just found this a little bit easier this time. I can still stabilize. Yeah. And now as I move down, I'll just, at the very end, I'll turn out, but I'm not using a lot of pressure, so I'm okay with that. I can follow through, use the other arm. See how smooth that transition can be, right? Now I'm going faster than I typically would, just so you can see. Pull back with this hand. Right? Okay. Making sense so far?
Yes, sir.
I'll show you one more contact surface and then I'd like you to practice. So this last one, I only want you to do if you're confident you've got strong enough hands to do so. If you've got really strong grip strength, go for it. I got these stumpy little farmer fingers, really strong grip. I can do it no problem. And that's going to be to use your fingertips. So you can make this little claw type shape and just put the fingers down. This hand just reinforces. Same thing, stack your joints, shoulder, elbow, wrist, everything stacked. Check the shoulders, check your body, lean in and move up. That takes a lot of forearm strength. So you can try that, but if it's uncomfortable, don't do it. No need. No need. All right, got your thumb
Did
to
you
remind
put
you.
the pressure on the finger?
Right on those fingertips.
Use the finger.
Yeah. Use those fingertips. But again, only use those fingertips if they're strong enough. If you find that they start to collapse like this, don't use them. My fingers, they're not very flexible. They don't go back very far. Yours do, right? So only if they're strong. If they collapse, don't use your fingers. Yeah. And you'll notice, I have never used my thumb. At no point did I say, use your thumb.
I noticed.
Don't use your thumb.
Why is that? Because everyone else does.
You'll wear it out. You'll hurt it. And that's part of the reason why massage therapists have oftentimes they injure themselves within the first couple of years. They use their thumbs. If you really want to, put your thumb down, put your other hand on top, and do it that way.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, I see.
So it's not too much pressure on this
Yeah.
area.
We can use our thumbs once we like get into the neck a little bit and we're working on the hands. Yeah, we can use the thumb. But on the back, no thumbs.
Yes.
Palm of your hand, hypothenor, pisiform, fingers, forearm, elbow. That's it. So again, the goal for today is you're going to start with comfort. Make sure they're comfortable. Can you bring your arms under, down like that? We're going to re-drape now. When you re-drape nice and easy, you just bring it like this, give it a tug. We're good. We'll end the treatment the same way we started it. Gentle stroking. So you'll do stroking, effleurage, petrissage, and the petrissage technique, just one. Both sides, right? I only focused on one. You'll focus on one side and the other. So it's up to you whether you do 1 minute, 2, like say 3 minutes here, 3 minutes here, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Up to you, you decide.